Pep Guardiola has signed a ton of dribbly boys this summer. Mikel Arteta is absolutely obsessed with the idea of tactical flexibility, and Carlo Ancelotti is using Jude Bellingham as a box-crashing striker. But I'm here today to tell you that the most interesting team in the world right now is Bayer Leverkusen. Now there's lots of interesting things about Bayer Leverkusen. Let us start with their manager, who you may recognise. This is Xabi Alonso. He was a pretty good professional footballer. He's won Champions Leagues with Liverpool and with Real Madrid. He played for Bayern Munich for a long time, and he also won a World Cup and a European Championship with Spain. But he's very much at the beginning of his managerial career so far. So as you can see, after he retired, he spent some time working with the Real Madrid youth system. He's also spent time at Real Sociedad B. And so his job with Bayer Leverkusen is his first senior role. He joined them last season very early on. Leverkusen were in a relegation battle, and he actually managed to pull them up the table. And this is another interesting thing about Bayer Leverkusen, because now that Xabi Alonso has patched them up, got them safe in the Bundesliga, the indications this season is that he's starting to take them to the next level. So here's the starting 11 that Leverkusen have generally used so far this season, and there are 4 players who've been brought into this starting 11 during the course of the summer, and they all offer something quite interesting to the structure of this team. So we'll start with Alex Grimaldo, who was signed this summer from Benfica. Now Grimaldo is offering width from the left-hand side, and he's pretty much functioning as a left-back, so he's able to drop into the back line and also play higher up the field. He's good at swinging balls into the box. But what he actually offers Leverkusen is the ability to form a back 4 in possession. And what happens then is the back 3 then shifts around, so we've got the back 4 here, and this means that Frimpong can get higher up the field. And so you'll often see Leverkusen in this 4-2-4 shape in possession. But getting Frimpong forward is quite an interesting one, because he now has a really nice relationship with another player who was brought in this season, which is Jonas Hoffmann. Now Leverkusen lost Moussa Diaby to Aston Villa this summer, and there's big questions asked about their creativity on that side. And the solution that Xabi Alonso has found is actually using Frimpong to be a more attacking player, and he can use Hoffmann to offset that. So often Hoffmann will drop out wide to fill the space that Frimpong leaves behind him. And another thing that Hoffmann can do is actually drop in and help out with the midfield, so make that midfield 2 closer to a midfield 3. Now Granit Xhaka needs no introduction, because everyone will remember him playing as an 8 last season for Arsenal, but this season he's been playing closer to a 6, actually functioning as a deep line playmaker and actually quite a creative player as well. So what we've seen actually is with this front line getting forward, Xhaka can sit behind them and he plays balls into the box. Actually they've generated quite a few chances through him playing the ball into these wide areas, the ball being played back across, and actually Victor Boniface finishing those chances. Now Victor Boniface is a traditional target man striker, and that makes a huge amount of difference when you are generating these kind of chances, so that's been really good as well. He also has the ability to run in behind, but he can do good hold-up play as well. And with Florian Wirtz being given the flexibility to move in this gap between Xhaka and the front line, what we're also getting is the ability for Wirtz to find these really nice, cute through balls into these dangerous areas, and that's produced a lot of goals for Leverkusen as well. So Leverkusen's recruitment this summer has been all about bringing in the best profiles for the system itself. But it's not just about getting players on the pitch in the right areas, it's also about making sure that the structure works for the team to be able to generate dangerous chances as well. And this is another interesting thing about Leverkusen. Now I've already said that Leverkusen are still attacking the same sorts of speeds that they were, but they've increased the numbers of passes that they're making. And that's because the playstyle that Xabi Alonso has implemented this season is all about getting his players into overloads on certain parts of the pitch, moving the ball through quick passing sequences, and using third man combinations to move the ball quickly down the field into these dangerous areas. Now what do I mean by third man combinations? Well, you may have heard of 1-2s. A 1-2 is a pass between 2 players where one player plays it to one and the other one plays it back. Now this is technically a 1-2-1 because the first player passes it to the second player, then the second player passes it back to the third player. A third man combination is just a 1-2-3 pass. So the first player passes it to the second player and the second player passes it to the third player. These sorts of combinations are really good when you're trying to move the ball through lines of pressure. And the team that we always talk about when it comes to this is Brighton, because you often see Brighton trying to play through these lines of pressure using these sorts of third man combinations. So let's imagine that this is a Brighton centre back. The opposition player is going to press them, and what they can do is they can have one of their pivot players dropping in, pulling the player with them. Now this is still a pressure situation, but if you can play the pass and then do a one-touch pass immediately through to the second player, you've actually moved through a line of pressure. And that's what we're starting to see with Leverkusen. They're able to play these sorts of third man combinations all the way down the field that allows them to actually move the ball through lines of pressure. And if you can move the ball through lines of pressure, then you can often end up with a situation where your striker has a ball in front of goal with just the goalkeeper to beat. Now this is a play sequence that I really love. It's from the game against Borussia Mönchengladbach. And in this situation, Leverkusen are actually attacking this way down the field. But in this instance, you can see they're being pressed down the field by Gladbach. And I think 95 95% of elite teams here would actually use the centre-back to play the ball back to the goalkeeper, reset, spread the team out so they can then get settled possession in another phase. But instead, in this situation, Edmund Tapsoba, rather than playing it back to the goalkeeper, is actually going to use a third-man combination to actually move it through these lines of pressure so that Leverkusen can get the ball facing down the field. So let's just take a look at what that looks like. So Tapsoba has played this pass, but rather than playing it direct to Granit Xhaka, which was a much more difficult pass, he's able to play it into the feet of Ezequiel Palacios, and he's able to play it back to Xhaka, who then has the ball in front of him, and he can just play the ball across to Kusunu over here. And now you're in a really nice situation because everyone can start facing down the field. Kusunu has space around him. That gives them the chance to actually reset and then start moving the ball down the field. So if we move the sequence forward, we can see that now Leverkusen are in their settled possession state. Here's their back four. You've got the midfield two here as well, and there's a front four along here with Frimpong holding width over on this side, Hoffman able to drop in and help out. But what we've got here is a nice situation where we've got one of those overloads. So there's 5 Leverkusen players here around 3 Gladbach players. And what this allows them to do is to start using these third man combinations to move the ball down the field. And what this ends up looking like is this. We've got Kusunu plays the ball to Granit Xhaka, who plays the ball to Hoffman, who's dropped in to help out. He can play the ball to Palacios, and Palacios can find the space that has been opened out by Hoffman dropping in, and we've got Wirtz attacking that space in behind. And again, Wirtz is nominally on the far side, but he's been given the freedom to move across the lines, and that causes lots of structural chaos for the opposition, and that means that there's even more chance of being able to cause disruptions. And again, just notice Frimpong here producing width because the opposition player has to mark him as well. So we can see why Leverkusen's direct attacking numbers are still quite high, but their passing numbers have gone up because they're able to use this quick, intricate passing to move the ball through the centre of the field to generate these dangerous chances. And I find this really interesting because in Leverkusen, what we've got is a team who are using positional ideas. They're thinking about where their players are structured on the field in order to generate space to exploit, but they're also getting close together. They're using the relationships between the players to generate these dangerous chances as well. So Bayer Leverkusen are the most interesting team in the world right now for me, and I'm fascinated to see whether or not they can actually challenge Bayern at the very top of the Bundesliga and cause other teams in the Europa League problems this season.